Alright, well, you guys can see behind us on me and all the snow. Liam's covered in snow. We got ourselves a 2010 Ram 3500 to do head studs on today. We got ARP 2000s. So, we're going to be doing that on them today, and I'm going to go over and basically show you guys like what needs done. I forgot my GoPro today. So, we're just going to be filming with the phone today. We are back. Hopefully going to be back doing daily vlogs. And yeah, so sorry about the break, but it definitely, I've been daily posting for ever now. Been daily posting for such a long time now that it was like, you know what, give me that week, let me just relax, not worry about anything. It was killing me inside not posting, but here we go. So let's go outside and show you this thing. Alright, here she is. Sorry about the lens and everything, but yeah, 2010 G56 pre-def ARP 2000s. That's what we're going to be doing today. So, let's get this thing taken care of, and should be about a 6-hour job is what I quoted them. And we'll go from there. Alright, here she is. Completely bone stock, it looks like. So this thing's going to get a lot of work. Not today, of course, but I'm going to do the head studs today. He got me ARP 2000s to throw in this thing. You guys can see why this one will take longer than the last one I did, because that one had a one-piece valve cover. This one's got this piece here. You got to pull the dipstick, get this off. Then you got to pull the first valve cover, the second valve cover. The crankcase ventilation, I believe, is also up there. Yeah. So, like I said, I quoted him 6 hours on it for that reason, as opposed to like what it would take on the other truck was about 4.5 to 5 hours valve adjustment. So, basically, as neat that we did the last one, we're going to do the same one. I'm going to film the process, and we'll go from there. Now, many guys have been bugging me about this white truck. So, I'm going to make you guys a deal here, okay? So, I have all of this. Everything is pretty much complete, minus like the sensors and whatnot. The head is good. There was one valve that was kind of getting a little sticky there, but it does move up and down, so maybe lapse the valves and everything. I could not find a truck to put this engine in. I have been looking. There has been no trucks with blown motors to throw this engine in. So I'm going to give basically this whole package, I'm going to say $1,700 or best offer. And that is an or best offer. Literally make me a decent, reasonable offer for this stuff. The turbo's good, the head is good, the block, you guys can see, let me get that light on, you guys can see, here's number 5. So you can see a cylinder that has cross hatches, okay, that's a normal cylinder, they're all like that, except number 5, okay, this is the one with the melted piston. So, all of that. 2 of these injectors, I believe the ones that were in 5 and 6, which would have been these guys here, these injectors actually were dripping when I pulled them out, so that makes sense as to why this engine something happened to it. So, it sucks. When I tried to sell it before, I went off of what someone else said. Had I sold it thinking it was a good engine, I would have given somebody their money back, 100%. So, besides that, if you guys want it, let me know. Whole everything right here, $1,700 or best offer. All the injectors, there is one new injector. Basically everything is here, even the exhaust manifold bolts and whatnot. So let me know and just get this stuff out of the shop. Once this sells, I can get a 12 valve for the white truck, and we can start working on this thing here. I'm going to start ordering parts here in the next probably 2 months. I have about $3,300 in the Amazon cart right now for the white truck, and I can't wait to work on the white truck. But aside from that, that's not what this video is about. Let's get this thing going, and we'll go from there. So we're gonna do, there's 8 mils on top, there's 10 mils. Alright, so pretty much, I always put my bolts back where they belong, like I said in the last video on that. That way you don't lose them and you know exactly where they all go, but you gotta take all 8 of those off. There was a clip on that one, clip for there, and that clip right there. So, and then this thing will pull up. You got to get that whole thing off. Yeah, that's just level 1. Now there's a second and third piece to this, I believe. All right, piece number 2. You guys can see right there, this guy comes out. Ugh. Get your little screwdriver and, you know, pry underneath of it, but it comes out. That's number 2. Okay, your crankcase ventilation filter. I'm gonna set that just like that so it doesn't leak on the floor. And then piece number 3, there's 10 mils, 3 of them. There is also a clip right there, sensor, and then you can see 1 right here. So we got to take all that off. So that'll be fun. Give me a second here. All right, so here's number 3. Okay, you got your 2, 2, and 2. There was 1 clip. I missed the second one, so I did grab both of them. What you want to do is you want to get a pick inside there, break that free as possible, and then you guys can see there's 1 and there's 2 right there. So next step, valve cover. This is piece number 4. They are 8mm nuts. Not a problem taking them off. When you put them on, you definitely don't want to torque them to insane high numbers, but you want to get a pick in here to get this harness and that harness off as well. Now this truck is going to be a lot harder to do these head studs on just because of everything being in the way over here and over here. So it's really hard to get a good swing on the torque wrench. So you just got to suck it up, figure out what works for you, and go from there. But yeah, so them 8 mils, I'm going to get every one of them off and that harness, and we'll pull piece number 4 off, and then we have piece number 5, which is the bottom valve cover. I'm losing track of which piece is which piece. So then you'll have the bottom valve cover, which is basically a bunch of 10mm bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is how many there are. So switch all this stuff out and get that out of there. But yeah, this is basically what you got to go through when you're taking these off. Now, if you're anything like me, you'll be using a power ratchet because, well, quite frankly, I can't stand to sit here and undo every one of these. See how much easier that makes life? And we have the final piece. Now, you want to be super careful with this O-ring on the bottom because sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. But this thing's really hot, so I'm going to wait until everything cools back down and to put it back on. But that brings you to this point right here. Basically, 10 mils the whole way down, so you're going to take all this stuff off. Make sure you leave it with each individual cylinder, and we're also going to have to do a valve adjustment at the end of this. Every time I get a piece of cardboard for these things, I always forget how long these engines are, but we got them labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So everything is gutted down. So now we're ready to start taking them out one at a time. And I mean, it's not going to be super bad, but at the same time, it's still, these aren't fun. These are definitely not for like the faint of heart, and you definitely need to have some strength to it as well. So I believe these are going to be torqued down to about 130 foot-pounds, and you have a crap load of them. It's like, I couldn't even tell you. So it's like 2, 4, 6, I don't know. It's like 32 of these things. So that's going to be my guess. I think there's 32 of them. Box, we'll lay these things out. You should do your inventory before. Oh, they give you plenty of lube now, finally. But always do your inventory before you start taking things apart. ARP 2000s. They definitely give you, so there's your fastener assembly lubricant. I think he might have ordered this separate, but they also give you some in here. So there we go. The long ones, again, are for the exhaust. The short ones are for everything else. Now, ARP specifically recommends, oh, there's only 26, it looks like. Cool. Does not recommend doing a hot retorque. As long as you are using their assembly lube, they do not require a hot retorque. So, all we are doing today is we are installing these. ARP's logic is, once they are installed, they're torqued. Leave well enough alone. You can do a hot retorque if you want. It is absolutely not necessary. So, just going to throw that out there for the guys that think they know better than the manufacturer that makes these things. But again, this is how we're gonna do it. So, and we are gonna do this the proper way. You know, you could start at the front and work your way back. I'm not gonna do that. I'm starting at the middle two. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm just gonna keep going that pattern. So if you guys look, here's the intake side, here's the exhaust. So we'll start at the middle one, closest to the intake, move to the exhaust, then we'll come back out to an exhaust one, put a long stud in. As you can see, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exhaust studs, okay? So those I'm going to set aside. All right, so I just cleaned it out. Basically, every one of them, you want to do this. Everything cleaned out of there. Down in there. Turn it till it's tight. And then back it off about a half a turn. Right about there, so you can see it's still a little loose. That's what you want. Don't want to tighten it all the way. Really hard to film and do, but here's how we'll do it. Basically do that all the way till, these say 125, we're gonna do 130. These things are perfectly fine at 130, so I torqued those exotics down to about 130 to 132, so be all right. All right, so you guys get the point. You can see I got those two, basically all the way up to this front exhaust, so I'm gonna be doing these two next. But I had you guys hanging up here. A budget boy camera mount. So yeah, I'm gonna go through, just do the rest of them like I am. We'll time lapse putting everything back together, and we'll go from there if I notice anything at this point. But you guys get the point. Every time you do one, you wanna spray them out, and to make sure that you bottom them out, just because they feel like they're bottomed out with your hand, definitely run them in as far as possible and then like half a turn out. So go from there and then torque them down. I'm torquing them, like I said, to 130 foot-pounds, just right to the 130 foot-pounds. If you're doing a new head gasket, yes, you'll follow the specifications, but since we're just doing the one-on-one method, just go right to 130 foot-pounds and be done with it. So, and I'm doing it in order how it's supposed to be done. That way there's no issues. There would absolutely be no problem starting at the middle, running this side, and then running the other side. You could do that. I'm just running it as it's supposed to be. But yeah, these are going to be about 130 foot-pounds as opposed to the factory rating, which I think is like 110, and they're torqued to yield. So you're technically not supposed to reuse them. Just coming back in to show you. Still doing it the same exact way. You guys can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are still left. Same with back there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when there's an even amount, you're supposed to do the back one first and then come to the front one. So there will be 5 left in the back and 6 in the front. So then then it'll be 5 and 5. Then it'll be 4 and 5. Then it'll be 4 and 4. 3, 4, 3, 3. You know, keep going down that sequence. Since it's somebody else's equipment, that's how I do it on theirs. But if it were mine, I would end up just doing, you know, the whole fronts and then the whole backs. So that's pretty much how I would do it. You don't want to do from the back to the front or the front to the back. I personally wouldn't like to do that, because then you're extra clamping from the front out, rather than, like, each side's going to be different. So you're going to clamp from this side forward and that side back. So it'll still be even pressure from the center out. But if you start in the back and bring your pressure up, you're going to end up pushing. It's going to be unequal pressure. You're going to end up pushing the gasket this way with more pressure, and it might throw something off. It's not worth the risk, so that's why I just do it. This is how I'm doing it on his. So, and I sprayed myself in the face with some oil, so that was fun. This is a brand new orange shirt, and it's dirty and never going to be clean again. So, whoops. All right, so we have every one of the studs in, and every one of them torqued to 130 foot-pounds. So that was fun. I remember how sore I was from doing this. So basically what we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna throw each individual one of the rockers on. You need to grind out, you guys see on the number 6, you need to grind this out so the stud doesn't hit it. Little die grinder will do you good. Angle grinder, doesn't matter how you do it, as long as this does not exist anymore. So you can clear, let's see. So you can clear that back stud right there. So, aside from that, it's pretty good. Don't need the air anymore. Wow, that actually went pretty far down in there. Let me grab that. So, obviously, so you can see the end of the gun. You're gonna wanna be prepared. You can see how there's like a little bit of oil. So there was actually 1 or 2 of the stud holes that a lot of oil was actually down in there. So just one of those things, you want to clean everything out, make sure that you get everything bottomed out and then pulled back off a half a turn. It's as simple as that. So I didn't use any of the ARP lube from them. It looks, I think he bought this as a separate, so I used this. I'm gonna clean that off for him and give that back. So get this thing all thrown together. Valve adjustment. Even though a lot of guys said it's really not necessary to do the valve adjustment, you're already in there, why wouldn't you do it? So it's just one of those things, make sure they're all in spec. Obviously put these all back in each individual hole. Just professional thing to do, I guess. But yeah, so do that and get it back together. One thing to make mention for the guys out there, like I said in the previous video when I did this, I know a guy who actually put these rockers on, and you guys can see, let me see if I can zoom in there a little bit. You see how there's a little, like there's a little indent right there, you know, where the ball sets in there. So if you come over here and you can see, there's a little ball right there. Make sure that when you put them in and tighten them down, that you're in that seat. Also, make sure that they are also sitting inside of the tappet down below. When you pull it up, you should feel some resistance. Make sure that every single one of these are in there, because if you don't, you will end up bending something. Whether you bend a valve because it sticks open or you bend a push rod. He ended up bending 2 push rods. So make sure you do that right. This is not something you want to mess up. Now, push rods aren't super expensive. I remember I picked 2 up for Hotshot Dave a while back when we were trying to diagnose his truck. They're not super expensive, but they're also not something that you want to inconvenience yourself and have to replace again. So. All right, so it's the same deal as before. D-Boss Garage did a really good video on these straight 6s. So basically what you're gonna end up doing, if number 2 is 1 down, 1 up, then you'll be able to do number 5 and so on and so forth. 1 and 6, 2 and 5, and 3 and 4. That's how you'll basically do these. So when 3 is rocking, you'll be able to do number 4. When 2 is rocking, you'll be able to do number 5. When 1 is rocking, number 6, and so on and so forth. That's what we're basically gonna be doing here. Straight 6s, super easy. So we'll go from there. All right, so you can see that number 6 is rocking, which you can't see, but that means we can do number 1 right here. So basically, and you can feel these too. Like if I come over here with my 20 thou, 20 thou is the exhaust spec, I can tell that that is out of spec. So it's definitely a little loose, and it could be a little tighter on that. I could probably fit a 22 thou in there. So let's get these broken loose. Be very careful, because when they break, and it doesn't feel good when they break. All I'm using is a 3/8 drive down in there to get the spec, and then we'll throw the wrench in there and get it tight. You want a little bit of resistance, like right about there. I'll go to the intake side. Definitely a little hard to get in here, but we'll make it work. Right about there makes me happy. That's 2 done. So that means that we have done number 1 and number 5, because 2 is rocking and 6 is rocking. So now I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna give it a quick jab of the key to get it to go over a little bit more, and spin it once, and then shut the key off and be on second stroke. So we should be able to do the next set. All right, looks like you guys can see that pretty good. So number 1 is rocking, and which one was it? Number 5 is rocking, and number 1 is rocking. So we'll be able to do number 6 and be able to do number 2. So that one's loose, and then number 6 should also be loose. Number 6 is loose. So let's get those done. Flashlight is dying, if you guys can't tell. Don't buy these Snap-on lights. These things are absolute garbage. Stream light. These are from Snap-on. Garbage. All right, so as I was saying, right here is number 6. You can see how nice and notched out that is. So that used to have, you know, a little triangle shaped here, but you got to cut them out for number 6. Otherwise, the stud will protrude above and you'll have a nasty leak, because you won't be able to set this down all the way. So next thing I'd say, clean all the oil off of this thing on the outer edges. Make sure that O-ring seal on the bottom is really good, and we'll go from there. All right, now on every one of these, after you've put your gasket down, you're gonna wanna tighten these down snug, literally snug. You do not wanna go, once you feel it get tight, leave it alone. You do not wanna snap the heads off these things, because if you do, you'll absolutely be buying a new injector. You guys see how small of a tool I'm using here? So, what you're going to want to do, once you get them finger tight, literally just, that's good. That's good. Like, I'm using the head, and once I feel it put tension on it, I'm done. That's it. I've never snapped the head off of one of these, and I don't want to find out how expensive it is today. Look at that. Tight, click. That's it. Done. You can go fast until you get to the initial point, but once you feel any sort of resistance, done. Alright, so you guys can see this in real time. I haven't fired it up yet. Let's see how she starts. Yes, it's a G56 truck. No, clutch is not needed. Nice. Make sure I plugged everything back in. I can see the sensor up there. All the sensors back here were plugged in. She runs pretty good. Something you want to take note of is if the check engine light was on before or after. Let's go down here to vehicle messages. Select. Oh, oil change due. Cool. So, she's good to go. I'm gonna get this thing pulled out. We're good to go. Alright, so this will pretty much do it for this thing. I don't know what I went over earlier, but I used 4-wheel drive to get it out of the place, but it is completely bone stock from what I can see. You know, besides, I don't know if those are factory airbags or what, but yeah, everything's pretty stock under here. Not the only thing I don't like about it, besides the chrome, is how high the back end sits compared to the front. But other than that, this thing is mint. Beautiful truck. Absolutely beautiful truck. 2010 pre-def and all that. So, like I said, hopefully he's super happy with it. And, yeah, hopefully he brings it back for to do the deletes and whatnot. But definitely cool truck. Color you don't see too often. So he should be here any minute. And we'll go from there. But might get this thing warmed up for the guy, and looks like he'll be here in a couple minutes. So this truck here, sorry about the terrible quality, but does not actually have the high idle feature. You can see here if I turn the cruise control on and I hit set, it does not actually do anything. So unfortunately this truck does not have it, which I think most of the stick shift trucks didn't actually come with it anyway. But yeah, so other than that, if you guys do the set and then, you know, hit your cruise control and hit set, it'll high idle. Some of the manual trucks you had to modify them to do it. I wish I could go drive this thing out on the street, but it is snowing today and I don't want to hurt anything on his truck. It is not my equipment, like I said, so just trying to take care of it as best I can. So we're back. So tomorrow I should have a video as well, and we should just keep rolling with stuff. I got things ordered for the waste oil. I did go and get the I went and got dual fuel filters for the truck, the massive ones. So I got those, I got the VGT vane collar, and just a bunch of stuff that we can start working on that one. Once I get rid of that engine, we can start like seeing what we need for the white one. I really need that CRV gone too. I'm at the point, like, if somebody gives me $2,000 for the thing, just take it and get rid of it. Like, it does have a couple of things wrong with it, like a transmission leak and whatnot, and it's not inspected in PA and needs a cat. Passenger window doesn't go down, but other than that, it's like, if it was perfect, I would try to get that $3,500. But I'm at the point where it just needs gone. I don't have room for it. It costs me money every month just to keep it. So $2,000. That's firm though. I'm not gonna get rid of it for any less than $2,000. But yeah, $2,000 would be nice to have for that thing. So, all right. So in a couple of days, I told you guys about the VGT controller, or the VGT vane, the nozzle, whatever you want to call it. So when that comes in, I'll be able to start working on getting the exhaust brake function working. But as of now, this thing has been working so perfectly. The tuning's dialed in, everything's dialed in and good. I just need to get the vane fixed. So basically, I can put it in exhaust brake, but then it's stuck in exhaust brake mode, and I can't do anything about it. Look at this guy. And I can't do anything about it. I can't pull it out of exhaust brake until that vane is fixed. So that arm I showed you in one of the previous videos. So when that comes in, we'll get that taken care of. But as of now, let's see if this thing starts, because it is pretty dang cold out.
We're at the start.
And we have snow on the windshield. Oh man.
Why do you always keep it up? You're scared.
Oh, she ain't happy. Don't recommend this, but this is how I clear my window. Oh man. I need to go get I don't know where my air compressor gun went. I lost that. Otherwise, I'd be using that to clean the stuff off.